Hello everyone and welcome to our hot takes for the month of June. This is a monthly series where we take a bunch of movies we saw over the course of a month and we review them within a couple of phrases and hopefully make some recommendations. The films we're talking about are in order from worst to best, and some of these films are still in theaters, some of them are on their way to VOD or Redbox at this point, and maybe some of them are on the multitude of streaming services that are out there.
Where's Batman? Fuck Batman.
What in the almighty Lord is this movie? I really can't believe that this was made. It is nonsensical, outrageous, and a complete waste of time. If one thing about it is memorable, it is the music used. I wanted to Millie Rock on every block when I heard the music. Also, one action scene is alright, everything else is dumb. Skip this if you can, it's not worth the time. 2 out of 10.
Fuck Batman.
Have you ever seen a sports movie? Do you love the generic cliches they present? Then Uncle Drew is the movie for you. Besides knowing everything that is going to happen beat by beat, not only will you not laugh literally at all, you'll cringe to the point of actually debating wanting to drink bleach. The film is plagued with unbearable performances, but its cliche storyline does have some heart to it. I'll never see it again in my life though. 2 out of 10.
Fuck Batman.
This movie should have been a laugh riot, but instead we are presented with comedic cliches and boring characters. Besides the inventive and creative slow-motion scenes involving Jeremy Renner, this movie does nothing new. It ruins itself at the end by showing the real-life men who do this. The story of the film literally is not true. It was made up around the idea of these men playing tag. By the time you get to the end, you wish that it wasn't a waste of time, and that you could have actually seen the real story. It's a real shame. 3 out of 10.
Fuck Batman.
Jesus Christ, this movie is boring. Doesn't even get started until the middle of the second act when they go to actually rob the Met. The actors are all unenthusiastic except Rihanna. It feels like a waste of time. Sure, I didn't see the end coming with them stealing all the jewelry or whatever, but like, it wasn't set up very well. We see someone buy toy boats, and from that we're supposed to be teased about not predicting the ending? It's stupid. The heist is really all you need to see. You're good. 4 out of 10.
So there's a lot of archival footage of Alfred Hitchcock talking about film craft all over the internet, and anyone who at the very least wants to be a filmmaker has seen at least one of them. Arguably, his most famous one is about suspense. Here, listen.
4 people are sitting around a table, 5 minutes of it, very dull. Suddenly, a bomb goes off, blows the people to smithereens. What do the audience have? 10 seconds of shock. Now take the same scene and tell the audience there is a bomb under that table and will go off in 5 minutes. Well, the whole emotion of the audience is totally different because you've given them that information.
Okay, so the thing about Ocean's 8 is that the bomb explodes, and then the movie proceeds to tell us everything about how the bomb got there after the fact, like it even matters. Even without being suspenseful, it's not like these characters struggle at all. Things just happen. Overall, it misses the point of what made Soderbergh's masterpiece great in the first place. I'm mentioning Soderbergh's remake and not the original because Ocean's 8 relies on it like a crutch, and I'm giving Ocean's 8 a 4 out of 10.
Fuck Batman.
Okay, the movie itself is kind of just alright, but once we get to the first action scene, it feels like it's the peak of the film. It gets progressively worse from that moment, and nothing lives up to that, except the ending. The ending is so goddamn great, I love it so much. It's inventive, and it's not a happy ending like every other movie ever made. I had a good time with that, and thought it was a good change of pace from everything else that was released, and I'm giving Upgrade a 6 out of 10.
The director of Insidious Chapter 3 gives us another forgettable film not worth revisiting. It doesn't do anything egregious or absolutely terrible. It managed to hold my attention the whole time. The movie has these weird camera moves during the action scenes that are kinda cool, but it's nothing extraordinary in my opinion. I think you're okay to skip this, and if you don't, I have a hard time believing it'll stick in your mind for more than a couple of hours, and I'm giving Upgrade a 5 out of 10.
Speaking of Josh Brolin...
What?
Fuck Batman.
Speaking of Josh Brolin, Sicario's pretty good. I had a blast with the story and the practical effects, but some moments had me feel like I was going to doze off in theaters. The second act kind of drags on for too long, and I'm not a fan of the collector's character toward the end of the film. It presents ideas of terrorism, but does not really build on them like the previous film did. 6 out of 10.
This movie is pretty good. It's not as great as the first one because it wasn't directed by Denis Villeneuve. I think of the 3 movies that Josh Brolin has starred in this summer, he gave his best performance in this film. Walking into this movie, I was afraid that it was going to completely miss the point of the first film because, I mean, look at the marketing. But as soon as the film started, I felt like it was a continuation of the previous film. Speaking of the beginning, there was a little hoopla over the beginning of the film being too graphic, and I totally disagree. It was horrifying for sure, but it was filmed in such an objective way that I didn't feel like it was gratuitous or anything that would indicate this is too far. I would recommend this film to people who have seen the first film, and if you haven't seen that one, go see it and then come back and see Sicario 2, which I'm giving a 7 out of 10.
Fuck Batman.
Unfortunately, I need to see Hereditary again, but alone this time because I was in a theater full of adults who don't know how to behave in a public setting. But what I got from this first viewing is that it's a horror film and not a scary movie. Let me say it again. It's a horror film. It's supposed to be horrifying. Jump scares and all that shit doesn't try to horrify you. It's an atmosphere. It's a feeling. It's something that you take away with when you leave the theater or when you stop watching the movie. Anyway, it's very much like The Exorcist in that it's a family drama until the supernatural elements arrive, and then it's a horrifying trip. For the most part, it's beautifully shot, well acted, and it has one of the best third acts of a horror film I've seen since I can remember. For now, I'm giving Hereditary a 7 out of 10, but if I see it again in the right circumstances, it might be an 8.
Fuck Batman.
I can only describe Won't You Be My Neighbor as the cinematic equivalent of a juice cleanse, but for your emotions. And it doesn't get any better than that, especially in times like these. I saw a complaint that this movie touches on character flaws in Mr. Rogers that should have been explored more to make a more interesting character study. And to that I say, sure, but to do so would completely defeat the purpose of this documentary. And I'm giving Won't You Be My Neighbor an 8 out of 10.